From Fox News one day ago, Bernie Sanders flips out when pressed on 4-day workweek proposal. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to introduce you to a concept that used to be very popular, but isn't very popular anymore, okay? So, the idea of making labor-saving devices was that you would save labor, right? And then, because it took less labor to make the same amount of goods, you could either increase the amount of goods you make, thereby increasing the sort of like overall saturation and economic availability of a product, or you could simply produce the same amount but work less. Historically, the idea of making new things that allow us to work more efficiently has been, what if we did both? What if we enriched the economy and also worked less? At some point in the past 200 years, the idea of working less left that dynamic, and in spite of the fact that the average worker today is incalculably more efficient than they were 150 years ago, for some reason we don't have incalculably more free time. Look, I'm not being unreasonable here, okay? There have been studies on 4-day work weeks, and it seems like in a lot of environments, they're just an objective improvement, just a plain, straightforward improvement. A lot of this is because many people today have bullshit office jobs where they don't actually get 5 days a week of work done every 5 days in a week. So compressing it down to 4 days encourages higher productivity, and they also tend to feel better during those 4 days, which makes them more productive. Obviously, the introduction of a broad overall 4-day work week would be a complicated, massive endeavor. You know, I'm not saying it would be super easy or, I'm not saying you could just do it overnight, but it would be nice if people got to enjoy living, is what I'm saying, right? Hypothetically, if you could imagine such a thing, that would be pretty cool, I feel. And Americans are pretty overworked, too. Yeah, OECD country, average hours worked annually. Here we go. Expand statistic. I love expanding statistics. Now you're just getting greedy. True. So we have Colombia. I don't want to live like the average Colombian. I'm very sorry. Vosh, I'm sorry. I love you, your community, and I love you. But in all seriousness, why are you holding your chat down like Mr. Beast holds his own balls? What the making jokes based on what you do? It seems that in the hour that you've had in timeout, you haven't learned the behavior that I timed you out for. Back in you go. We're very committed to education on this channel, in this space. Back in you go. We'll just walk in, walk right back out, right back into the box. Okay, anyway. Chile, Korea. Ooh, Korean work culture. So we all know how bad that is. This is like a good staple to point to right here. Greece, Poland, United States over here. And then every country down from this point, fewer hours worked per year than the United States. Estonia, Czechia, OECD country average, New Zealand, Turkey, Australia, Hungary, Italy, Canada, Ireland, Spain, Portugal, Lithuania, Slovak Republic, Slovenia, Japan, Latvia, UK, Switzerland, Belgium, France, Finland, Luxembourg, Iceland, Austria, Sweden, Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, and Germany. The industrious, hardworking Germans all the way down here at the bottom. Impressive. Look, all I'm saying is, for the wealthiest economy in the world, we produce a lot of stuff, and I feel like people should stretch out, get a little, get some time, to relax, have a good time, is all I'm saying. So let's get to the video. Let's see how agents of the capital class in Fox News react to Bernie Sanders proposing a largely popular, bill. A significant number of Americans want a 4-hour work, or 4-hour work. A significant number of Americans probably would want a 4-hour work week, but today we're talking about a 4-day work week. Keep in mind, a 4-day work week would be for the same amount that you're making every 5 days. Like you wouldn't just be working less. You would be getting 5 days of money for the 4 days. It would be crunched in that way. But I think Bernie Sanders himself actually posted on this. Let me see if I can find this, where he talked about the average American's level of support. Ah, wonderful. I saw this posted by him. The 32-Hour Workweek Act by Senator Sanders is so radical it only has the support of 64% of Americans, including 73% of Democrats and 54% of Republicans. What's radical is the standard 40-hour work week hasn't changed in 84 years, while productivity has gone up 400% since the 1940s. Can't stand by or vet all of this data, but you know, guys, this is a joke. They're being sarcastic here. Surprisingly high for Republicans. Yeah, Republicans tend to be pretty economically liberal if you ask them directly, rather than asking them if they support Democrat policy, socialist Bernie Sanders, communist work week. Here, Bernie, take it away.
Today is a pretty simple question. Do we continue the trend that technology only benefits the people on top, or do we demand that these transformational changes benefit working people? And one of the benefits must be a lower work week, 32-hour work week. This is not a radical idea.
Isn't it cool how he's older than Joe Biden by 1 year and infinitely more coherent, not just because of the lack of a stutter, but also because he very clearly can keep his thoughts in order and deliver them coherently? Man, if only he had won in 2020 or in 2016.
France, the seventh largest economy in the world, has a 35-hour work week and is considering a 32-hour work week. Norway and Denmark is about, their work week is about 37 hours, and Belgium has already adopted a 4-day work week. And what we're going to hear today is there are companies all over our country and all over the world.
What would be better, 5 days with fewer hours or 4 days of 8 hours? 4 days of 8 hours. People seem to want that. Having a whole day off once a week is infinitely better than every day of your week being like, I don't know, 2 hours shorter, because you still have a commute to and from work as well. Yeah, it would just be like a bloat in the middle of the day. Hell, I'd rather do 4 10-hours. I mean, you could do 3 10 hours, right? 8-hour day, 4 days a week is 32. So if you did, 10 hours, 3 days a week, that'd be almost the same amount.
That have adopted the 40-hour work week. You know what they found? They found that productivity actually went up.
That is true.
Because workers were able to focus on their work. They were not exhausted. They were happy to go to work. So the issue that we are talking about today is of enormous importance. Who benefits from the exploding technology? The wealthiest people who are doing phenomenally well, or working people who are falling behind? And with that, let me give the mic over.
Oh, that's true, Kowalski. Yeah. Overtime being set at 32 hours would mean that even if you are working more, like if you do work to 40 hours, you would get overtime pay for those additional 8 hours. 1.5 or whatever. So it would be an overall benefit even to people who work more than the 32 hours. So, Fox News, Bernie Sanders flips out when pressed on a 4-day workweek proposal. I want to hear more. Tell me. Rupert Murdoch agents of a billionaire. Tell me what your opposition is to this.
Dangelus senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders, is proposing we cut the standard U.S. work week from 5 days to 4, but keep the salary the same. His plan makes the change over a span of 4 years. Mm-hmm. Sanders shared this at a hearing on the bill yesterday, and he defended his measure while Republican Senator Bill Cassidy asked what it would mean for businesses. Watch.
The question that we are asking...
Love that immediate framing, by the way, like so shameless that most people won't even notice it. What would it mean for businesses? Not, the workers, the people who it's for. They always ask that, what about the businesses first and foremost? What if we weighed this against their interests?
Today is a pretty simple question. Do we continue the trend that technology only benefits the people on top?
I remember this.
Or do we demand that these transformational...
You do realize people can join Hamas in that extra day.
This is not a radical idea.
We have a balance. This disrupts that balance. And we won't maintain the status of being the world's wealthiest nation if we kneecap the American economy with
I love these sophisticated economic arguments from Republican Senator Bill Cassidy. We need balance in all things. Also, how could America remain a superpower in spite of the fact that Bernie Sanders said productivity goes up?
Something which purports to be good for the American worker, but indeed will lead to offshoring of jobs seeking for a lower-cost labor force.
Hillary Vaughn is on Capitol Hill. Hillary.
Hi, Harris. Well, Republicans say that this idea that everybody gets a 3-day weekend...
In this time of record corporate profits across the board, when trillions of dollars are being siphoned collectively out of the working class towards the owning class, any interruption of that process would just be devastating. Just
Every weekend would be a business killer. So we had some questions for Senator Bernie Sanders about how this would all work and how businesses could afford it. Here's how it went.
Can I talk to you about the 32-hour work week? It seems like Fox Business. It seems like Democrats want businesses to be taxed more, pay their workers.
Really? Is that what you think?
pay their workers.
Excuse me.
I didn't get to ask a question.
Okay, thank you.
Senator.
excuse me. Thank you. Goodbye. You know, it looked like he was willing to talk to her for a second, but then she was like, it seems like Democrats' taxes, this has nothing to do with taxes. So just immediately writes her out. Like, nope. Sanders flips out over questions on 32-hour work. Actually, it seems like he shut her down before she even got a question out.
You want to hold it? Okay. We held a hearing on a 32-hour work week because what we have seen is that over the last 50 years, despite a huge increase in worker productivity, almost all of the new wealth has gone to the top 1%.
He's so coherent. He's 82 years old, and he has the composure and presence to talk over her, shut her down, and look at the camera and to ignore her, to hold frame, demonstrate power, and then immediately like, look, I just talked about this. Here are the talking points. Incredible. Just remarkable stuff, man.
Well, 60% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck. Many of our people are exhausted. We work the longest hours of any people in the industrialized world. I think it's time for a shortened work week.
Could I ask you a question about that? It seems like Democrats want businesses to be taxed more,
Really? That's not my assumption.
pay their workers more,
so.
lower prices,
think-
and
you know
now
what
pay people
Democrats-
not
So
to
notice how her question doesn't actually have anything to do with what he's talking about, and she just wants to do a whiny pro-business screed. It's the exact same kind of gibberish that you would hear from people back during the Gilded Era, you know, like, without child laborers going in to lubricate the cogs of the looms while they're operating, how could businesses survive? Like, it's this kind of whining has been she's not actually engaging with anything he's saying. She just has a pre-planned whiny 16-point question that she wants to dump onto him. What a snake. What a piece of shit. Bernie's handling it wonderfully.
to work.
You know what I would like to see?
How are businesses going to survive that? That's the question. How can businesses survive all of those proposals?
When Mr. Bezos pays an effective
Businesses are currently reporting record profits. He just said that. How could businesses survive as they're doing better than ever before?
tax rate lower than the average worker, I think we have a real problem in our tax system. I think that billionaires have got to stop paying their fair share of taxes.
So, Harris, if Senator Bernie Sanders had his way...
In this video of me getting mogged by a man 3 times my age, thank you,
I guess we would both be off work today. Harris?
I bet he wishes you were off work. That was great.
we're really insufferable, aren't we? We don't have any arguments against what he wants.
Thank you so much. Jackie Dangelus, co-host of the Big Money Show on Fox Business, is working for certain right now, in focus right now. You had so many comments. Share some.
So first, I'm listening to him about reducing the work week. Number one, you're going to erode the work ethic that this country...
This is classic Protestant work ethic stuff where, like, hey, slaves that we've brought over across the Atlantic, did you know that it's actually morally good for you to work really, really, really hard for your masters? Like, you'll go to heaven if you do. It's not just a means to an end. Like, you're a better person if you work really hard. You specifically, not the masters. They get to sit on their porch drinking, like, rum and lemonade watching you work, you know. They've already proven their good deeds by being wealthy.
Was built on, Harris. How much less do you want people to work than 40 hours? But number two, the
32 hours. It says in the bill. It says in the bill. You should read. It's titled the 32 hours.
Implications of that on corporations and small business by paying people for an extra day of work where they are not producing will put.
You're not paying them for an extra day of work. You're just continuing to pay them the amount you're currently paying them, but they work for 4 days rather than 5. You're not paying them for a day they're not there.
Not only some businesses out of business altogether, but it'll create an environment where you're going to see more layoffs because the companies, that's not a sustainable.
Why would you see more layoffs if they're working fewer hours? How exactly does that make sense? you would need to hire more people, if anything. You'd see the opposite force.
Model, and the companies won't be able to afford it. So we're living in an era, he's talking about technology.
Companies won't be able to afford it. Yeah, dude, totally. Corporate profits at an all-time high. United States corporate profits. I love this. This is great. Is this adjusted for inflation? Here's 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990. A quintupling since 2000. Man, how will these businesses survive?
And AI, where people are worried about their jobs already, and you want to implement a policy like this for the people who will still be working, it's disastrous.
Well, what happened?
It would just have the complete opposite effect. It would have the complete opposite pressure on labor. Like, she's just wrong.
For those small businesses when they need people to buy into the cause and to stick around extra and help me make this dream work?
What? Then you pay them overtime, you stupid. What do you, the same thing? Then you pay them for it. You pay them the money to stay. You offer them overtime hours. Like, is the implication that does she think that, like, right now you can make workers work any length of time without overtime?
You're right. I mean, that's how this country was built. So
yeah, you're completely right. This country was built on lots and lots of unpaid labor. I agree completely. You don't say. You'd think you'd have heard this.
Paul Morrow, former New York City detective and attorney, was on the couch with us on Outnumbered yesterday, and he asked 10-plus hours, 4 days a week. Right. That way you get the 40 hours, but people get a 3-day work week. What do you think?
I think that's great.
That's not less hours worked. I mean, that'd probably still be better than the 5-day work week, but that's not less hours worked. So that wouldn't be great. That's a 32-hour bill.
That's an alternative. That's a model that I've seen used at different companies, and people like it. They like the flexibility post-COVID to be able to work differently. But the companies and the government can work with them in making arrangements that are better. Let me just make one comment about what he said about the wealth.
What? I don't understand.
And the Jeff Bezos and why they're not paying their taxes. The top 1% in this country pay 46% of the entire federal income tax bill. He needs to stop saying
that. And they should pay more. Guys, remember those corporate profits we just looked at? Don't worry, they're all paying more than they need to. You know why the top 1% is paying such a large proportion? Because they have all the money. That's like saying, like, did you know the Pharaoh supplies the vast majority of coin towards these projects? Yeah, because he took all of it. He took all the coin. There is no other coin. Yeah, one helpful way to reduce the amount the 1% contributes proportionally to the overall tax base would be to redistribute income so poor people have money to be taxed with. I'm fine with it. I agree. I agree with this woman's radical proposal. I think the top 1% should pay exactly 1% of the taxes because the other 99% have 99% of the money. What do you guys think, huh? Sounds pretty good, right? Pretty good idea. I agree.
That would be a lie if he's saying that.
Yes.
He's super smart. You know that he would know that. Right? I don't know. He's a democratic socialist. Maybe he's given so much away he can't remember what it's all worth.
That must be.
You idiot. You stupid socialist. Don't you know? Wealthy people have more money. You idiot.
Last quick one for you. I want to talk about inflation right now. And you and I got into it during the commercial because how do you ignore this? Inflation is staying high despite a hot job market and sky high.
Wait, what the inflation since Biden took office? Inflation isn't what? Inflation staying sky high relative to the marker from the beginning of the, yeah, okay. Isn't current inflation like 3%? Yeah, no, it's not even annualized. This is literally just the flat percentage increase in inflation, a worthless statistic that no one uses except for when making like currency value adjustments across different time periods. Man, nothing like a quick jaunt over to Fox News to be reminded how much they hate you and want you dead. Looks like current inflation's at 3.2%, which is pretty close to the Federal Reserve's target.
High interest rates. Well, that was to try to cool things down, so they're still sky high. Try to buy a house, you'll know.
That's not how inflation works. They're not still sky high because at some point in the past they were lower. By that logic, you could say in the 1960s inflation was sky high because compared to what they were in 1920, the number is different. Like, that doesn't follow.
Government data show inflation has risen by more than 18%.
No, that's not inflation rising. Oh my God. That's an inflation in counting for the difference between now and then. That's not inflation being 18.5. That's just the total increase in the value of the... Oh my God. Oh my God. People watch this, dude. People watch this. Like, people get their information from this. Yeah, the average boomer watching this is going to think that inflation right now is 18.5% a year or something, or like 18.5% a minute or whatever. Yeah, your boss watches this. Mm-hmm. What's the name of the lady?
President Biden's
the black lady?
watch. And February statistics show the producer price index jumped by 0.6% last month. The consumer price index is up by more than 3% last month.
Versus last year? Okay. So not 18% then. Yeah, 3.2%. The consumer price index has gone up 3.2% because inflation is... Okay.
Compared with last year. It's complicating the Fed's path to cutting those painful interest rates. A new op-ed argues the Fed's nightmare scenario becomes more likely. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told Fox Business she's rethinking her words from 2021.
What?
I regret saying it was transitory. It has come down, but I think transitory means a few weeks or months to most people. I wouldn't expect this to be a smooth path month to month.
Consumers spending record...
What? Wait, what's the connection between this and the previous thing? This is so clipped and cut out of... I don't what's even being said? An op-ed said that Yellen regretted a previous statement. This is like... There's like so much context that's been taken out here.
Amounts on credit card in order to just survive for basic things. They can't afford basic items. How long do you think this credit card debt accumulation can continue?
I see that as a normalization rather than a disturbing new trend.
Okay, wait, let's take a pause there. We'll get to the Washington Examiner in a second. Okay, so you're going into further debt on your credit cards to buy food. She thinks that's a normalization. So
What?
She went from transitory to normalization.
The mea culpa on transitory. Thank you.
What? Wait, they're just saying words. What are they? This is like a not even wrong situation. I have no idea what point is even trying to be made here.
Thank you so much, but it's 3 years later. It's not helping us now. On the normalization,
Inflation
that
went
was
down.
the part of that interview, Harris, that really made my head explode. We had saved up money.
Thank God I thought I was having an ESL moment. I had no idea what these women were yapping about. No, okay, I guess we're done with the Bernie Sanders section, so I don't care anymore. But like, no. It's gibberish. It doesn't mean anything. I guess like, okay, think about it. The kind of viewer that would be fooled by the big inflation number being 18% is also the kind of viewer that would think that lady saying credit card purchases for groceries indicate a normalization of a trend, and then her nodding and going, so she thinks that's a normalization, huh? Like, we're dealing with like amoebas, intellectually speaking here, okay? This content is produced for people who are operating at a level of intelligence that you can't sympathize with. They're they've been directly comparing monthly and annual stats. These numbers don't compare directly in the two they showed like next to each other. They didn't even explain what they were. They're just showing red arrows with numbers next to them. Like none of this, it's too much. It's too much. Again, it's not even wrong. Like I would have to like sit one of these ladies down and go like, what point are you trying to make? And then I would have the incredibly loud, incredibly incorrect buzzer anytime they said anything wrong, which would just, I would be like leaning on that the entire time, you know? You know that Tim and Eric skit and sketch with the buzzer? It's like copyright, right? Can they copyright the buzzer noise? Stop. Okay. All right. Flashing back to my childhood. That reaction image, though, back before you were even alive, that was a popular reaction image of the guy smiling at the camera. Yeah, it still is. I haven't seen it in ages, but I hope it is. It's good. My God, the comment section on that Fox News clip are some of the most depressing shit I've ever read. We're all doomed. Yeah, it's pretty bad.